Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People story. It's hard to believe, but it's true. I found myself entangled in a legal battle with my own homeowners association over the simple act of parking my pickup truck in my own driveway. Let me take you back to where it all began and provide some context. I live in a prestigious neighborhood filled with luxurious cars that embody the status and affluence of its residents. Naturally, I have a BMW that my wife primarily uses for transportation. However, being an electrician, I require a vehicle with ample space to carry my tools and equipment, and that's where my trusty pickup truck comes into the picture. When I first moved into the neighborhood, aware of the homeowners association's strict regulations, I promptly filled out the necessary forms and obtained permission to park my truck in the driveway. The permission had no expiration date specified, so I assumed I was within my rights to continue parking there. After all, isn't that the purpose of a driveway? To park one's vehicle regardless of its type? However, a few years later, an unexpected letter arrived from the Homeowners Association instructing me to cease parking my truck in the driveway. I was taken aback and wondered what they expected me to do. Squeezing it into the already packed garage, used mainly for storage, would have been impractical. It appeared that the Homeowners Association's concern revolved around maintaining a certain neighborhood aesthetic, an appearance of affluence that would supposedly attract the right kind of people. I couldn't help but find their rules discriminatory and unreasonable. What if a family required a large van to accommodate a member with a disability? Would the Homeowners Association deny them the right to park in their own driveway? Nevertheless, I decided to persist and continued parking my truck in my driveway, disregarding the angry letters that piled up in my mailbox. After all, it was my property, and my truck was neither causing harm nor offending anyone. Little did I know that those letters contained fines for my supposed infractions, which I carelessly discarded without paying much attention. Eventually, I received a letter, not from the Homeowners Association directly, but from their lawyers. To my surprise, I was being sued for unpaid fines and violating the bylaws. Instead of letting it go, they were taking the matter to court. The audacity astonished me. I had done nothing wrong, yet here I was, facing a legal battle over parking my truck on my own property. During the court proceedings, to my relief, the trial progressed much faster than I anticipated. The Homeowners Association, HOA's representatives candidly admitted that they considered the bylaws to imply that my truck should be parked in the garage. However, I argued that there was no explicit mention of trucks in the bylaws, rendering their interpretation baseless. The court ruled in my favor, and the Homeowners Association was obliged to cover my legal expenses, an exhilarating victory that I hoped would teach them a lesson. Yet instead of accepting defeat gracefully, the Homeowners Association decided to appeal the decision and escalate the case to a higher court. Throughout the period between the two trials, I continued to receive relentless letters from the Homeowners Association attempting to pressure and intimidate me. However, my lawyer advised me to maintain my distance until the case was resolved. Over a year passed before we returned to court, and this time I had an additional trump card up my sleeve. I unearthed the original application that had granted me permission to park my truck in the driveway, and it clearly showed no expiration date. As the same truck remained in my possession, this piece of evidence shattered the Homeowners Association's arguments. They could argue about the interpretation of the bylaws all they wanted, but they couldn't deny that I had official permission. In the end, justice prevailed, and the Homeowners Association's relentless pursuit came to an end. They were ordered to pay a hefty sum of $280,000, which covered my accumulated legal fees over the past year. It felt like a significant victory, but the bitter taste of the whole ordeal lingered. All I had fought for was the right to park my truck, something that any ordinary homeowner takes for granted. Unfortunately, the Homeowners Association didn't take their defeat gracefully. Seeking revenge, they decided to increase the annual Homeowners Association fees for the entire neighborhood, using it as a means to recoup their financial loss. However, this move sparked discontent among the well-off residents who were forced to shoulder the burden of their vindictiveness. The Homeowners Association subtly redirected the blame towards me, conveniently omitting the fact that they were the ones who instigated the lawsuit. Though a few neighbors understood my side of the story and stood by me, Most distanced themselves from the controversy, the Homeowners Association. His actions tarnished my reputation, tarnishing my hard-fought victory. Nonetheless, I remain confident that their unjust actions won't go unnoticed or unpunished. The future holds the promise of delivering the retribution they rightfully deserve. The next one is a pro-revenge story. My SO and I were renting a ground floor unit at a really nice apartment complex. I wouldn't say it was a luxury apartment or anything, but our ground floor unit had a little patio off the back that led out into a really nice courtyard area with hammocks, a walking path, outdoor fireplace, /seating area, etc. A lot of people walk their dogs out there or let their kids play out in the grass, including us. We have a 1-year-old cane Corso. We got her when we'd been living in the unit for about 2.5 months, and she was only 8 weeks at the time. She's a really good dog, and we trained her well. We could let her out to go potty, and she'd come right back even if there were distractions /people/dogs out. We always stood on the patio and watched her anyways because our pet agreement said we couldn't leave our dog unattended. Then we'd go pick up her poop right away if she pooped. Also part of the pet agreement, as I'm sure is standard at most apartment complexes. We kept a small step trash can outside specifically for her poop bags because we didn't want to throw them away inside, and the only outside trash cans were on the other side of the building, which I agree is super dumb. It really was a small trash can, like the kind you'd tuck into the bathroom between the toilet and the wall. We also had her poop bags hanging on our patio door handle for easy access, so we didn't have to hunt for them every time we needed them. This lady and her kid moved in on the ground floor in our building, 2 units down from us. No biggie. We ran into her one day carrying in groceries, and my SO held open the door for her. She seemed kind of Karen-ish, but was polite, and her kid, probably 10, 11 years old, didn't look up from his phone. Whatever, that's pretty typical of kids these days. They also had a dog, a little black and white fluffy thing, super cute, but not trained very well. Don't know what kind of dog, but it was much smaller than our already giant puppy. After about 2 weeks or so, we realized that there were dog turds in the grass right off our patio. We found out the hard way because my boyfriend stepped in it the first time. Luckily, he wasn't barefoot. They were clearly not our dog's turds as one. We always picked up her poop right after she went in 2. They were very obviously from a small dog, not our 70-pound puppy. We'd been in the apartment about 7, 8 months at that point, and had never had an issue with this, so we figured it was EM's little dog. I wrote her a polite note that basically was like, "Hey neighbor, we noticed that some of your dog's poops aren't being picked up and are right off our patio. Per the pet agreement we all have to sign, we all need to be picking up our own dog's poop each time they go. I'm sure it was an accident and you just didn't notice, so if you could make sure to do that going forward, we'd appreciate it. Your neighbor's in Unit Hash." She wasn't home, so I slipped it under the door and went back to my apartment. A couple hours later, this lady is banging on my door and gets really angry with me, insists that it couldn't have been her dog, and how dare I assume. I felt really bad, and I apologized immediately, said I didn't mean to offend her and it must have been someone else. She told me never to bother her with crap like this again, and stormed off. I was like, okay. Not 3 days later, I was sitting on my patio with a book enjoying the cool weather when I see their little dog run out of their back door, no one with it, and it comes over to me. I said hello to the pup, because I love pups, and then it took a crap right off patio, ran back home and scratched the door to be let in. I saw her kid slide the door open enough to let the dog in and then closed it again without coming outside to pick up the poop. I was annoyed because here I saw it with my own eyes that it was their dog, and no one was even watching it when it was outside. So I grabbed a poop bag, picked up the poop, wrote another less polite note about her kid neglecting to watch the dog or come to check if it had pooped pick up after it, and dropped the poop bag and the note on their patio right by the door, then went back to my reading. EM was quicker to come by this time and stomped right up to me, waving the note around. Then stated that her kid was just a kid and probably just forgot to check. I said I didn't care. Her kid was old enough to stand outside for 3 minutes and come pick up the dog's poop. She said, well, there's no poop bags, trash cans on this side of the building, and she didn't feel comfortable making her kid walk all the way around the building for that. The next part is my own fault, in hindsight. I suggested she put a trash can like mine on her patio and leave their own poop bags handy like we do for our dog. She eyed our stuff, huffed some more, rolled her eyes, refused to do anything about the poop, and walked off. At this point, I was super annoyed. I stalked my patio door for the next couple days as much as I could, just waiting. And sure enough, on day 2 in the evening, when I was about to give up, I see the puppy run outside towards my patio. I whipped out my phone, took some pictures of the dog outside alone, not allowed, and the dog pooping, and then took another phone an hour later of the poop still there and time-stamped all of them. Then I sent an email to the apartment office people, who were always pretty nice, and they responded quickly they would give her a warning about it. And sure enough, this lady comes back again to get mad and yell at me about how petty I was to report them to the office, and now they had a $150 fine for not picking up their dog poop. It's worth noting that these fines were rare. Poop prints were not used at this complex. In order for the office to fine someone for dog poop, they had to have proof it was that specific tenant's dog's poop, and that it wasn't picked up. Hence the photos I'd taken and time-stamped. I told her that I had tried to be nice about it with her twice before, and it was her own fault at that point for not abiding by the terms of the pet agreement we all had to sign, everyone who had a dog at least. She went off about how she's a single mom and she works during the day and her precious baby can't be expected to pick up after their dog. I told her that a 10-11-year-old was plenty old enough to pick up after a dog, and that if they weren't responsible enough, then maybe the kid shouldn't be letting the dog out at all and she should be the one to do it. Or maybe whoever is home with him should be looking after it. She got angry, told me I had no idea how to be a single mom, that her mom stays with him during the day and shouldn't be expected to look after her kid and her dog, and she stomped off again. I expected to hear more about it, but I didn't. The ironic part is, I am a single mom. My kid isn't my SO's, and I raised him alone for 2.5 years before I met my SO. So yes, I do know how hard it is, and I live 1,000 miles from my closest family, so I never even had the luxury of being able to have my mom watch my kid. Over the next couple of weeks, we didn't find any more dog turds off our patio, but we did notice our poop bags were depleting and our trash can filling up way more quickly than usual. I had my suspicions and wanted to test it. We had recently bought some small security cameras for inside of our apartment for different reasons, and I had my boyfriend set one up outside on the patio. We faced it where it could see our door and trash can but didn't point to the rest of the courtyard or other people's units. We respect privacy around here. Sure enough, the same evening my boyfriend set it up, I see the kid walk onto our patio, take a poop bag, walk out of frame, and then come back to throw it in our trash can. Okay, now I'm pissed, but also not trying to fight this lady or her kid. So I moved the poop bags to the inside door handle. It's a glass door so you can still see them, but we always lock our sliding door. Next morning I hear someone knocking on the back patio door, and I go to see her kid standing there looking annoyed. I didn't open the door. I just spoke loudly enough to ask what did he need. He demanded a poop bag for his dog's poop. I said I'm sorry, but these are our poop bags for our dog, and they weren't free for anyone else to use. The apartment provides poop bags in a dispenser near the trash can on the other side of the building. Kid started demanding a poop bag, saying his mom told him he could use ours, slapping his hands on the glass a few times, trying to scare me. Yes, I'm so terrified of a 10-year-old boy. And finally screaming at me that he's telling his mother on me. I said, fine, go ahead, I'll tell her the same thing. Sure enough, a few minutes later, his mom is standing on my patio also demanding a poop bag for her dog's poop. I denied her a bag and asked her to please step off of my patio as she was making me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. My SO wasn't home. She told me I was a bratty child, I'm 24, and she demanded I let her use my poop bags as I had already told her she could before. I said no, I told you to get some yourself and do what I do. Keep them close by and put your own trash can on your own patio. Not use the bags I buy with my own money for my own dog, and then fill up my tiny trash can with your dog's poop. I pointed out she could use a plastic shopping bag if she didn't want to buy her own poop bags, or she could use the bags the complex provided on the other side of the building. She kept going off on me, and I finally told her if she didn't leave my patio, I'd call the police as she was harassing me. The apartment office was closed on Sundays, and of course it was Sunday. She acted like she was going to call my bluff, but then my boyfriend got home and walked up behind me to ask what was going on, and she ended up dragging her kid away, again, leaving the poop in the grass off my patio. So once she was gone, I took another time-stamped picture of the dog poop. downloaded the footage from my security camera of her kids stealing my poop bags and throwing them in my trash can, and the footage from them that morning yelling at me and demanding my bags and my denying them, and emailed all of it to the apartment management. I told them that she made me feel unsafe and uncomfortable in my own home, that she and her child felt entitled to come onto my patio and take my belongings. I also went outside, picked up her dog's poop, looked in the trash can on my patio, and pulled out the bags with her dog's poop. They were significantly smaller than my dog's poops, as I'm sure any dog owners could tell the difference in poops of a 12 lb dog versus a 70 lb dog. I went and opened all the bags and dumped the poops straight on her patio right outside the door. On Monday, I heard back from the office lady who said she would take care of it. By Friday, there was a moving truck and the lady and her kid were moving out. Pretty sure they were evicted or at the very least urged to move before a formal eviction process was initiated. After talking to some of our other, much friendlier neighbors, it turns out we weren't the only ones who had been complaining about her. They'd only lived in the complex for like 3 months before they made so many enemies they were kicked out. Sometimes I think I should feel bad for playing a part in them getting evicted, but honestly I can't bring myself to feel guilty about it. Not my fault she was a lazy entitled idiot who couldn't even be asked to get a shopping bag to pick up her dog's crap. I never heard from her about the turds I dropped on her patio, but I like to think she stepped in them without looking and knew better than to come idiot to me about it. Sorry, not sorry. Also, I'm sure they were given more than a week to vacate as those are the tenancy laws here, but she packed up and left like a bat out of hell. Guess she didn't want to stay somewhere she was clearly seen as an enemy. I don't know for sure that she was evicted, or if she was just asked to leave or abide by the lease or what. Office can't give out that type of info, and she and I weren't exactly on speaking terms for her to give me the scoop about it. The next one is an entitled people story. I am visually impaired. I have no sight in one eye and very little sight in the other, but I can see a little. I walk with a white cane, but generally need some help to get around. I was at the airport in Cincinnati. Returning from a business trip, and I asked the person helping me to take me to a Starbucks since I was desperate for caffeine. She put me in line, then said she would be back for me in 20 minutes. So I'm standing in line when this woman starts creeping on my right, then a little more, and a little more. She was trying to cut in front of me. Oh, I don't think so. So I slyly slid my cane over to my right, effectively preventing her from cutting in front of me. She realizes she's been caught and huffs a bit. Her plan of cutting in front of an undercaffeinated blind person at 6:45 a.m. effectively thwarted. I get my drink and take a seat. Most people just took their drinks to their gate, so most of the tables were empty. Then the woman who tried to cut in front of me sits down at my table and waves her hand in front of my face. We have the following exchange. Woman: so, are you blind or what? Me: pardon. Woman: like, how much can you see? Are you faking? Just how blind are you? Me: I mean, I saw enough to know you were attempting to cut in front of a blind person. Woman: so you can see. Waves hand in my face again. Can you see this? Why do you need a cane if you can see? Is it macular degeneration or what? Me: ma'am, it's too early for this. Please leave my table. I don't owe you an explanation or any part of my medical history. I'm just trying to enjoy my drink in peace while I wait for my guide. Woman: geez, I was just asking. Huffs and leaves for parts unknown, thank God. I don't know why people see someone who is disabled and feel entitled to their story or their medical devices. I've had people grab my cane and pull me where they want me to go. Parents who think it's cute to let their kids grab my cane, it's not. Last 4th of July, a random woman saw me walking with my family and grabbed my arm to drag me over to her son, who had recently lost his eyesight, so I could tell him my story. She didn't ask, just grabbed. My daughter let her know how horribly inappropriate that was, and this woman was super offended because she was just trying to help her son adapt to his new reality. Like she thought I owed that to her by daring to be blind. Disabled people aren't sideshows. We're just trying to live our lives, just like you are. The next one is an entitled parent story. Got another story about my mom to share. This one happened about 14 years ago now. I, then a 21-year-old male, and my wife, then 22-year-old female, were happy to announce that we were expecting our first child. We had been trying for a while, and had been told by the wife's doctor that she had some complications that would make it very difficult for her to conceive. I don't remember what the issue was, but it wasn't impossible. just difficult. We had basically given up on trying. We were just enjoying our lives together and having the back burner hope that it might happen one day, and it did. We were both overjoyed and terrified. Nothing is as real as finding out you are expecting child -1, and it can be a lot to take in at once. Everyone is excited, congrats all around, my parents' first grandchild, etc. My dad was probably the most wholesome I had ever seen or heard him be when we told him the news. My mom was over the moon too, at first. After the first couple of months, we started really trying to hunt down names. We had already considered and rejected the idea of naming our son after any family member. We just weren't interested in that. We both subscribed to the idea that the sound of a name is important. Your name is the very first impression people will have of you, before even looking into your eyes. They can already have an opinion of you, and we wanted it to be a good one. I won't give details of what name we chose or what names we rejected. I'm not trying to bash anyone's name, and I think now that actions are much more important than how a name sounds. When we told the families what we had decided to name him, one person took umbrage with our choice. Of course, my mom. According to my mother, at least one person in each generation needs to have the name. "It's the family name!" she practically wailed at me when I wouldn't budge. "It's the same name I gave you. For the record, I do not like my first name, and I'm never called by it. I am mostly called by nicknames or my last name, never my first. I don't hate it, I just don't feel like it suits me or my personality. It is not a silly or archaic name, just not for me. It turned into quite a thing." I can't really remember all that she said, but suffice to say, we were the biggest traitors to the family, and we were tearing down tradition. She blamed my wife, saying that she had brainwashed me into it and all that. I was the one who came up with the name we wound up going with for him. Well, I talked to my grandma, and she said that the name wasn't really the name. It was her husband's name, and she named one of her sons the same. My mom named me with it and decided it was tradition. We had several months of no contact after that because frankly we didn't want to deal with her BS. More stories to follow later. Ciao for now. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.